You ever find yourself on a plane, maybe peeking into the cockpit as you board and just wondering, what is actually going on in there? We see all those blinking lights and complex dials, right? But behind all that is an even more complex web of knowledge, discipline, and skill. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and really dig into the incredible amount of training it takes to earn those wings.
For so many, the dream of being a pilot starts right here. And it's not just about flying, it's really a journey of leadership. I love this quote from Cathay Pacific because it frames it perfectly. The person just starting out, the second officer, is already seen as a future captain. It's a career path that's just built on a massive amount of responsibility from day one.
So, how do you get from having that dream to actually sitting in the captain's seat? Well, it's a path that is absolutely paved with intense study, serious discipline, and a mastery of subjects that, frankly, would intimidate most of us. Let's break down what that journey really looks like.
The very first major hurdle on any pilot's journey is mastering this foundational text, a document that's so comprehensive, people in the industry often call it the pilot's Bible. This is where all the theoretical groundwork for safe flight is laid out.
And this is it, the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. It's put out by the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA. This isn't just some textbook. It is the absolute bedrock of a pilot's education. It covers every single conceivable topic a pilot has to understand cold before they even think about touching the controls.
And when I say comprehensive, I am not kidding. Just look at this. This is only a glimpse of what's inside. We're talking aircraft structure, principles of flight, aerodynamics, flight controls, aircraft systems, instruments, performance, weather theory, airport operations, airspace, navigation, even something called aeromedical factors. Every single one of these is its own deep, complex world of knowledge that has to be mastered.
Okay, so all of that knowledge, you can kind of break it down into three core arenas that a pilot is constantly juggling. You've got the invisible forces acting on the plane, the complex machine they're flying, and the structured, invisible architecture of the sky itself. First up, the physics. Every single moment a plane is in the air, it's in this constant, delicate ballet with four fundamental forces. You have lift, pushing up, which is opposed by weight, pulling down. You have thrust, pushing forward, opposed by drag, pulling backward. A pilot's job at its core is to manage the plane's energy to keep all these forces in a very precise and controlled balance. And this really shows you the mechanical depth we're talking about. See, a pilot isn't just a driver. They're an operator who has to know their machine inside and out. They need to know the difference between engine types, how the electrical and hydraulic systems work, and, this is a huge one, how to manage the fuel system. Everything from using the right grade of fuel to avoiding the potentially catastrophic risk of fuel contamination. And then there's the sky, which is anything but empty. It's this super complex, regulated space with all these invisible lines and zones and rules. Pilots have to navigate this maze of controlled airspace, all while being constantly aware of prohibited areas, like over the White House, restricted military zones, and even temporary flight restrictions that can just pop up out of nowhere. On top of all that, pilots basically have to speak another language. What you're looking at here, it's called a METAR, an Aviation Routine Weather Report. To most of us, it looks like complete gibberish, right? But to a pilot, this is a crystal clear snapshot of the weather at an airport. And they need to be able to read and interpret this code in seconds.
Let's just decode one tiny piece of it so you can see what I mean. See that term BKN090? That tells a pilot there's a broken cloud layer, so a lot of clouds, and the base of those clouds starts at 9,000 feet. Now imagine decoding every single part of that long report instantly. That's the level of fluency they need.
But here's the thing. All of this technical knowledge is pretty much useless without the single most important instrument in the cockpit, the pilot's own mind. The ability to make sound judgments under immense pressure, that's what really separates a great pilot from just a technician. And we're not talking about gut feelings here. Pilot training actually formalizes this mental skill into a process they call aeronautical decision-making, or ADM. It's a structured, systematic way to manage risk and stress. And get this, the FAA says studies show that this kind of training can cut down on judgment errors by as much as 50%.
ADM gets right to the heart of some very human and very dangerous psychological traps. Pilots are literally trained to recognize these hazardous attitudes in themselves and then deploy a specific mental antidote. So if your brain says, "It won't happen to me," the trained response is, "It could happen to me." If you feel that urge for impulsivity to just do it quickly, the antidote is not so fast, think first. It's this incredible form of mental self-regulation.
And it all follows this clear, continuous loop. Pilots are trained to constantly run this mental checklist, identify any hazardous attitudes, modify their behavior, cope with stress, assess the risks, use every single resource available to them, and then constantly evaluate how well their own decision-making is working, all in real time.
So, after mastering the forces of flight, the mechanics of the aircraft, the language of the sky, and the discipline of their own mind, a student finally reaches that goal. But, as we're about to see, it's not actually the end of the journey.
They earn their pilot certificate. And this is so much more than a piece of paper. It's a symbol of a massive, massive achievement. It is proof that they have demonstrated the knowledge, the skill, and most importantly, the judgment to be entrusted with an aircraft and, of course, the lives of everyone on board.
But here's the real takeaway. A pilot's certificate, it's not a graduation diploma. It's really a license to keep learning. The world of aviation is always changing, and that responsibility to stay sharp, to stay proficient, to keep learning, it never ever ends.
So the next time you board a plane and you hear the captain's voice come over the intercom, maybe you'll think about it a little differently. Knowing this immense world of physics, engineering, meteorology, and psychology that they've had to master just to be there, how does that change the way you view your next flight?